Oh, okay. Just so you guys know, we will be recording. I just got a message from Kat. Shout out to Kat and John. I don't know if John's still on or not, but those are my tech people for this evening. They are incredibly helpful, so shout out to them. Kat did want me to remind you guys that we are going to be recording up for the speaker session. So once you're in your breakout rooms, you don't have to worry about those sessions being recorded, but we are going to record this first part of the session just so this way we can get the speaker recorded. Just so if anybody wanted to be here but wasn't able to be here, they can still enjoy that part of it. Okay, so moving into our events, some upcoming events that we have. August 15th, this Saturday from 3 to 5, we are having our Push Buffalo monthly members meeting. So this is going to be at School 77. So this is something that if you want to become a member, maybe you're not a member yet because there are some new faces on here. If you want to become a member, maybe check it out. You can get to know some of us before you commit to being a member. It is pay what you can right now. Our monthly membership fee is usually $5. So pay what you can if you can. So if you are coming to that event, please bring a chair. It's going to be picnic style outside. Definitely wear a mask and bring your sanitizer. August 17th, we have our Push Buffalo Eco Justice team meeting from 5 to 6:30. It's on Zoom every other Monday. Shout out to Luz. Luz is one of my regulars. Minnie's on. I'm not sure who else is on because I don't have all the names popped up, but shout out to them. They come out regularly. So this is what we do. It's the locals within Buffalo. It's community members coming together to try and make local changes. A lot of the work that we do is reflective of what New York News is doing. So feel free to check us out. If you have more questions, you can contact me. I'm in charge of that. Then August 17th, Push Buffalo has Guy Talk, which is largely for young men and teens. This is to just try and get people more confident and comfortable in who they are, and that's hosted by Devon McCune, and it's from 4 to 5 p.m. Those events are also digital right now, which its reciprocal counterpart is August 20th, which is Push Buffalo's Girl Talk. I wanted to make sure to kind of pitch those together because they're matching events. August 19th, we have the New York News Climate Jobs and Justice Recovery launch. So we've really seen a lot of the damage that can be done by COVID and external environmental concerns. And a lot of environmental concerns are very intersectional. And we can see that because of how it's disproportionately affected our communities. So for August 19th, we're really trying to push for changes. We're trying to push legislators and the governor for different changes that are going to help with environmental concerns, but also help our disproportionately affected communities. So if you're interested in that, you can also email me. Push Buffalo is a part of the New York News Committee. Additionally, you can contact Gio Hernandez. She's going to be on at some point tonight. So if you're lucky enough to meet her, you can ask her about that event. Then August 19th, we are having the next session of the Buffalo Westside Community Energy Roadmap. You do not have to have been a part of the other sessions in order to be a part of this one. Last session, we were talking about the planet and environmental concerns, specifically between our environment and us. Session 4 is going to be understanding our current energy systems. They're very informative. Also, if you're interested in any of the previous sessions but weren't on them, you can see them on Facebook on the Push Buffalo Facebook. And then August 25th, Open Buffalo is having a youth cookout. That's on Facebook. And, well, it's at Delaware Park, but the event is on Facebook. And September 1st, you can join the West New York Youth Climate Council from 2 to 4 for the climate resolution meeting. Emily Diet should be on at some point if anyone wants to connect with her about that event. She's great, and the West New York Youth Climate Council is very good as well. We have some important job opportunities. I know environmental job opportunities are very hard to come by. Push Buffalo is hiring for a ton of positions. So check out some of these positions, see if you're interested. They're on our website. I will be emailing out links for all of these things like events and jobs that I'm talking about, so don't think you have to retain any or all of this. Also, I'd like to point out we are hiring for an organizing director, so if you want to come and be my boss and tell me how to do my job, definitely apply for that position. All right, and we also have some job openings from the Buffalo Zoo. These are also found right on their website, so you can go ahead and mosey onto their website if you are interested in any of those. All right, so sorry, we got a lot of upcoming events. These are more so opportunities and different things, so it's not just specifically events. For example, you can join our Climate Board of Directors. They have a running list of different opportunities for students. You can volunteer with Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper. They do cleanups, the Restore Corps, River Watch, or you can just be an ambassador with them. The Western New York Environmental Alliance has several different working groups. I think they have about 8, so you can go ahead and check those out on their website as well. And then New York Renewed Storytelling Project, I'm a part of it. Kat is a part of it. What we do is we want people to tell their stories during the time of COVID and Black Lives Matter. So if you're interested in telling your story or being an interviewer, you can reach out to me, you can reach out to Gio, you can even reach out to Kat. And then please sign up for the Buffalo Climate Strike. There are some very important things coming up with that, so please get some updated emails. The virtual Common Council meetings, we definitely need a lot of support for. And then Open Buffalo has a leadership council application for ages 16 to 25. So if you know any youth, definitely get them on. I myself am only 24. If I didn't have this job, maybe I'd do it. And then they're also doing a poster design contest to get young people to register to vote and to actually vote, not just register. Because if you register and you don't vote, it doesn't make any sense. And then finally, we have the Youth Action Voting Survey, which is for 18 to 25-year-olds to talk about the voter experiences that they've had. There are some factors that really deter young people from voting, so we want to be aware of that so we can help solve that. All right, so that's a lot of events. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. These are going to be emailed out with their accompanying links, so don't worry about that. You don't have to email me asking for the links. I will be sending those out tomorrow, most likely. Don't think I'm going to have a lot of time after this call. All right, so I do want to introduce our speaker for the evening, Franchelle Parker from Open Buffalo. She's executive director. She herself is from this general area as well. I myself am from Buffalo, New York. She was born and raised in Niagara Falls. She attended Buffalo State as a political science and African American studies major. That sounds intense. I only had one major. Don't think I could do it. And then she has done a lot of research on connecting music and activism. And she's done research on mandatory drug minimums and sentencing laws and community impact. And I think we all know that those very, very disproportionately affect our communities. So I will pass it on over. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. And I just want us to first, before we start, show some love to Kelly for convening us here. You can use your snaps, you can use your reactions in the chat box, and just really thank you. This is such an important conversation, and it seems like because of all the other urgent things that are facing our community that we have not been centering climate justice in the real way, right? It's become a back burner issue. So I was super excited to be able to talk about how all of these urgent issues that we're facing as a community, how they're all interconnected. So as Kelly said, my name is Fran, and I'm the executive director of Open Buffalo. Our work is really just to advance racial, economic, and ecological justice for all. Our overall vision is that the people that are actually experiencing systemic oppressions will, one, always have a seat at the table, and two, the ability to solve their own issues. I've been doing community organizing and advocacy work for about 20 years. I know it might not look like it, but 20 years. And I got my start right on the campus of Buffalo State College, which is that way, through an organization called Black Active Minds. It was at Black Active Minds, or BAM, where I first learned about the New York State Rockefeller drug laws, mandatory minimum sentencing. And my very first campaign was a statewide campaign called Drop the Rock. And Drop the Rock was to repeal some of the most harsh prison sentences in the nation. It was a very, very long battle. But it was really there that I learned the power of just helping people that were being impacted tell their stories. And it really started my journey as a racial justice advocate and organizer. Up until this point, my life journey has really been about peeling back the layers of the onion, so to speak. Learning how to fight to end racial justice that was so deeply tied to ending all forms of exploitation and oppression. As we all know, this nation was founded off of stolen land and stolen people. racialized capitalism and exploitation created systems of oppression that we all still deal with today. And it was really during my time doing labor organizing at the greatest and baddest union, 1199 SEIU, that I was really blessed to be able to work at the intersections of economic and racial justice. And then at Open Buffalo, I've really been able to build upon my foundation of racial and economic justice, and then begin to teach others how ecological wellness, sustainability, and justice are the linchpin that holds everything together. Also, during my time at Open Buffalo, I became a mommy. That's my little heart, because Kennedy Ray is my entire world right now. And she was just a few months old, and we were on a plane to go learn about co-ops and second chance programs for returning citizens. And during this time, it was one of the worst wildfires in California history. All of the celebrities in Hollywood were losing their homes. So if it was impacting rich people, you know, I won't swear, but you know regular people were all screwed up. And as the plane landed, I just remember seeing all the smoke from the sky. And all I could think about was, how am I going to keep my baby safe in this? Certain parts of LA were closing down and declaring states of emergency, but the hardworking people at Hood Boys stayed open. And they gave us a tour and helped us to understand what centering returning citizens really looked like in our work. Meanwhile, over the hills in Beverly Hills and Hollywood, prisoners were being temporarily released to help fight fires for the rich. The crews of mostly Black and Latinx firefighters were literally risking their lives. However, post-release, the returning citizens, of course, are going to be denied the opportunity to use their experience to find work, because the California firefighters can't have felonies. And I was only there a few days. I had the opportunity to actually return home, return to some form of normal. But we as a community can't continue running from the compounding effects of climate change, racism, and classism forever. And for me, that's what a just transition is. It's moving all three of these things at the same time. And it's here, my people, in our community, right here in our faces. Maybe not wildfires, but New York State is starting to become ground zero for superstorms and the climate extremes in Buffalo. And now here in Buffalo, it's becoming a serious hazard for low income and moderate income elders in our community. So someone recently, and I thought it was a weird question when they asked me, but someone recently asked me, what politicized me on climate change? And it took me a while to kind of grapple with that question. And I'm like, I don't think I had a politicized, get woke moment on climate justice. But I did have a spiritual awakening that God, the infinite creator of all, has thought about every single thing that we need to survive on Earth. Clean air, water, millions of fruits and vegetables, herbal medicines, and land. But it's our actions as humans that's tearing the planet apart. But the thing about it is that humans can actually put this back together again. And God has provided us an abundance here on Earth. It's humans that just keep taking and extracting and overusing and abusing. And the climate crisis is a moral and spiritual dilemma for me. And personally, I see my role and Open Buffalo's role as helping to bridge the gap. I guess I really am getting a little older, but I'm an old school hip hop head. So when I think about community organizing, I'm thinking in Biggie and Tupac lyrics. And Tupac said in one of his interviews that I might not be the one to change the world, but I guarantee I'll spark the mind of the person who will. And that's really how I see my role in the climate justice, just transition movement. It's to help expose young people, Black folks, people trying to figure out where the next meal is going to come from, that another world is actually possible, where people aren't being taken advantage of and abused on their jobs, where the police don't shoot us dead in the streets and walk away scot-free. That another world, like almost what Akon is doing in Africa, building an entire just transition city with renewable energy. So we can actually do it. And if COVID has taught us anything, it's taught us that none of us are safe until all of us are safe. And this has really been a small snapshot of how unstable this hamster wheel is that we call an economic system. How most of us are just honestly one check away from being evicted, while corporations like Amazon have profited billions of dollars. Meanwhile, back here in New York State, it's going to be a minimum of 13,000 New Yorkers that are going to be out in the streets on September 1. So like I said, this planet has all the resources that we need to sustain life, but do we have the moral courage to make sure that it happens? Do we have the moral courage just to tax the rich? Do we have the moral courage to implement the New York State polluter tax? Do we have the moral courage to finally pass healthcare for all, like every other industrialized nation on the planet? For me, this is why we have to transition to something better now. We're witnessing disproportionate cases and deaths in Black communities due to COVID. We're witnessing disproportionate death of Black folks due to police violence. We're witnessing disproportionate death of Black folks due to superstorms, droughts, lack of access to the land. Economic devastation is wreaking havoc on Black communities. And this is why for Black people, just transition isn't just a hashtag or some progressive campaign. It's literally a matter of life and death for us. And as an organization and other Black and Indigenous and people of color leaders are calling for what the great sister activist scholar Maxine Burkett calls climate reparations. And I'm going to read a quote for you. Climate reparations is the assessment of the harm caused by emissions of the major polluters to improve the lives of climate vulnerables through direct programs, policy, and mechanisms for significant resource transfers to allow the ability of climate vulnerables to contemplate a better livelihood and future climate challenges. That sounds like something we can all get with, right? Let's map that up. And I know we all get, as Americans living in this nation, we all get nervous when we hear the word reparations, right? However, reparations is a common feature of international law. And I want my 40 acres, a mule, plus interest. And for just for clarity, Indigenous people and Native movements are currently engaged in land back movement, which has similar premise as reparations, but just to make sure that, you know, we're all using the same language. Native Americans and legal scholars accordingly do not use the term reparations in reference to their land claims and treaty rights. Rather, they demand restoration and restitution of lands illegally acquired outside of valid treaties. So just so we understand the parameters. But I think Malcolm X says it beautifully, and this isn't an exact quote, but the story goes, if you stab me and pull the knife out halfway, that doesn't repair the harm. If you pull the knife out all the way, that doesn't repair the harm either. You first have to admit that you caused the harm and then help me heal from the harm that you actually caused. And it's time for us to address the racial, economic, and ecological damage that's being done. And while leaders on the national level are still debating the how of climate reparations, here in New York State, that we're actually on the right path. So what'd you say? Say, what can we do? Great, I'm glad that you asked that. This is really the most urgent time in my lifetime, probably my parents and my grandparents' lifetime, for all the reasons that we've discussed today. It's more urgent than ever that New York State invest in its communities, create good jobs, green jobs, transition to 100%, not 50, not 30, 100% renewable energy, and hold corporations accountable, right? And this is my definition of climate reparations, right? Make polluters pay reparations, and let's transition to an economy that works for all. So that concludes my talk for this evening. I would love to hear your questions or your thoughts, but this is what's been in my heart today. Well, thank you. I'll turn it back over to Kelly.
Yeah, so we have this time for Q&A portion. So if you would like to ask a question, if you just want to indicate either in the chat that you have a question, or if you want to use the raise hand feature to verbally ask your question, just so this way we're not having people ask questions all at once, you can go ahead and do that now. If not, I'll start with a question. So what part of your work and your story has been like the most meaningful to you?
Well, I think at the time that I was doing the work, everything has been meaningful for me. It just depends on the political moment and the issue that I was working in. I think that I've been in a uniquely blessed position that most of my life I've been able to work on issues that really meant something to my soul. And that is a position of privilege, to be able to work for humanity. So I consider all the work that I've done to really hold a deep place in my soul. But I feel like the work that I'm currently doing at Open Buffalo is really the convening of all the different types of organizing that I've done throughout the years, from organized labor to student activism, to racial justice and reforming mandatory minimums. I think Open Buffalo has become a home where all of my past work can manifest itself. So I'm also incredibly thankful for that opportunity too.
I got a question. Hi, this is Lucy. Hi, Franchelle.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
How's Kennedy and the hubby? All good?
They're good.
Listen, the reason I'm asking is, what is it about the word reparations and the Black Lives Movement that's got people so damn scared? What do you feel about that? What are you thinking? What's going on? Why are they so scared?
Why are they scared? Because we're asking them to pay up.
Well, besides the financial, what scares them either politically or socially? I mean, do they think we're going to rebel? I mean, we're going to come outside their head? What?
I think a little bit of all of that, but I think at the core, it's the dollars, right? When, people don't have a problem changing their Facebook profiles to Black Lives Matter. But when we start to talk about defunding the police and investing directly into communities and education and social services and drug rehabilitation, that's when everyone's like, oh, we can't do that. Let's keep the funding the same. And that's, I appreciate the support and the solidarity, but support and solidarity also has to come with direct investment into our communities. And time for empty lip service is over. And I think that that's been the political awakening of this moment, that now our calls for liberation is coming with a price tag. And I think that that's what's getting people all nervous.
True. Yeah, because I often explain to people, hey, reparations is about money, but it's also about making sure that all the things that we have missed out on, that it's our turn to receive them. So thank you.
thank you.
Okay, and then we have a question in the chat from a senior in high school. Where do you think it would be best for high school students to fit in this movement?
Start where you're at. And that could mean something as simple as texting 5 of your friends. Are you registered? If they're 16, you can actually register to vote now. Are you registered to vote? Helping to educate people on what their rights are. When we think about activism, we think about 10,000 people in the streets. But what we miss in the CNN clips are all the small steps that were necessary in order to get us to a place where there's 10,000 people in the streets. And that starts with having difficult conversations at Thanksgiving about defunding the police and investing in communities, taxing the rich. Typically, we like to talk about football at Thanksgiving, right? We don't like talking about moving resources into impacted communities, right? So I think that's a place to start. There's organizations like Push that have youth leadership councils. Open Buffalo has a student leadership council. So really finding, even if there isn't a place in your school that is housing student activism and organizing, there are community organizations that are emerging, especially now in this moment. And I'm sure Kelly's going to send some of that information out to you after, but that's a great place to start.
Yeah, and I did want to draw attention to something Minnie said in the chat. She said you can still help voters register even if you're too young to vote yourself. So definitely some good community work in there. And then Aaron had a question. So Aaron, if you want to take the floor for your question.
Hi, I kind of had a similar question because I just graduated high school. So I'm going into college this fall, and I was wondering, oh, thank you. I was going to ask a similar question of like, I'm working with an organization now called the New York Youth Climate Leaders, and I was just wondering if you had any advice about youth in the movement and what you think like our greatest strengths are, and then also I don't know if you have any knowledge about the Binghamton area. I'm going to Binghamton. If there are racial justice groups and like racial climate justice groups in that area that you know of that you could share.
Citizen Action in the Binghamton area is extremely active, and they are, I have found them to be more of a political home for different campaigns and organizing. So even if you don't stay with Citizen Action, I think that's a great resource to reach out to really connect to other activists in the community. That was the first part of your question was resources for young people.
Yeah,
like,
and kind of like what you think our strengths are in this movement.
You have infinite strength in the movement, and the movement has to be led and sustained by young people. We've seen all across the globe and through U.S. history that liberation movements have been led by young people, right? So you have all the strength that you could possibly need, and we desperately need your energy and your activism. We need the creativity too. I think that in this moment, when we're looking more towards digital organizing strategies, that we need the creativity of young people. I'm just going to be honest. I have no interest in learning TikTok or Snapchat at all. And there's thousands of different apps popping up every single day. And I'm like, I'm on Facebook. And they're like, oh, nobody's on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, that's where I'm at. But young people are not. So how do you teach others how to engage and organize on social media? And I think especially coming into the election, it's going to be extremely critical for us to develop new organizing strategies that we've never seen before. If you would have asked me in 2019 if I thought campaigns could be won on social media, I would have burst into tears, saying, no, you got to get on board. You have to talk to people. But that's not the moment that we're in now. And we're seeing young people from all across the country developing incredible organizing strategies. I participated in the Netroots conference earlier today, and there were teams of young people talking about innovating digital strategies. So I would definitely say look to national organizations just to learn new platforms and digital organizing strategies. And I think for the rest of 2020, most of our activism is probably going to be online.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I totally feel that I'm not wanting to learn new social medias and everything. I learned what a Slack was when I started this job. Still don't know how it works. Everybody keeps trying to get me to use Slack. No idea what's going on. I'm only 24. I can't imagine what anyone else is going through. And then we have a hand raised from Jess. You want to ask your question, Jess?
Yes, thanks, Kelly, and thanks, Franchelle, for sharing. I've heard of cities that have been able to buy back their utilities so that they can switch to whatever energy source they want, and then they don't have to deal with increasing or fluctuating energy prices. Do you think it's possible to do something like that in Buffalo? Do people want to do something like that, or is it like trying to sell the idea to people first?
Oh, that is a push question.
My bad.
No. I think that there's definitely expertise when thinking about how we get off grid, how we use the utilities to sustain communities and really own our energy sources. In theory, I am 200% in support of us getting there, but the strategy and how to do that, I'll defer to our push siblings to explain the dirty on that.
Okay.
Thanks.
Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, so we can definitely get you some more information on that. Harper was on, but I don't think he is on anymore. I don't know. Sarah, do you want to speak to a little bit about what the work that you're doing with heat and cooling pumps?
Well, thanks, Kelly. I'm Sarahberger. I'm the Sustainability Planning Manager at Push. So I think what Kelly mentioned is definitely a move to electrify, especially our heating source, as a way to move towards renewables. But just speaking to kind of what Jessica said, there are a lot of really interesting movements, especially in California, to start buying back utilities. My personal opinion on this is utilities are a big bureaucratic mess. And so if we can figure out a way to produce like a significant amount of power, and then after that demonstrate that we don't necessarily need one big utility, I feel like that is probably the way to kind of disentangle ourselves from that mess. And looking at a huge, like, probably solar and maybe wind development that's owned in the community and by the stakeholders.
Thanks, Sarah. And then I can pass it over to Angel, and he can talk a little bit about the West Side Energy Roadmap work that he does.
Yeah, well, so currently I'm doing the housing justice work at Push Buffalo, but earlier this year I was on the community energy working group, and I was a part of the group that was working on the West Side Energy Roadmap project. And so when we were doing that, we were working with students from a graduate class at UB, and in order to think through like what would be the possible solutions for community-oriented like energy. How do we do this? What infrastructure we might need to build, and what could be possible. And so we started with canvassing the neighborhood, trying to get information on how much electricity and how much energy people use, and like demographics of homes, so on and so forth. And one of the things we thought about was you could have municipality buildings have solar panels installed on them with battery infrastructure, and you can then store the energy through municipality buildings, which are again publicly funded through our tax dollars, and then you can disseminate the energy through there in like a more public like way, to where like our local government would just have like control over that with the community's input and like how that works. One idea was brought up that the old terminal could be turned into like a big renewable like power plant type of thing, where like your solar panels, you can build some wind infrastructure there because it's all open space and the breeze rolls by, and there's ways that you can use the land around you. You know, like the expensive part is like battery infrastructure and like the infrastructure to store the energy. That's the hardest. Well, not, I wouldn't say the hardest, but it's one of the hardest and most expensive things about it, is having the technology and the infrastructure necessary to store that power to then give it to the community. You know, like there are many ways to generate it and gain the energy, but holding it is a much different conversation.
Thank you, Angel. Any other questions for Franchelle?
Hi, this is Emily Diet. I had a question.
Go ahead, Emily.
Thanks. Hi, thank you so much for sharing, Franchelle. I kind of came a little late, but enough to hear your story, and it was really wonderful. I'm glad I caught it, and thanks for Kelly for putting this together. And I am not a young person anymore. However, I work with young people relatively. I work with young people around raising awareness around climate justice, and, you know, as a white person going through a lot of education and 25% Mexican, but mostly white, and really trying to navigate the meaning of climate justice has been a really powerful journey, and I'm still always learning. So I guess I had a question with your experience working with young folks, and any advice that you might have, particularly navigating right now as we're kind of having this systemic racist awakening in a way, and just your thoughts on that, and how I can be more thoughtful in my own work.
Yeah, I would, even when I'm facilitating trainings, I'm always thinking of myself as a facilitator of a conversation, as opposed to coming and teaching anyone, right? Because everyone's going to come in with their own life experience. And also there's going to be a communication barrier between my generation and the high school students that we have in here every day, even though for the most part, most of us are all Black in here, right? It's a dialect that I'm detached from right now. So like really thinking of myself as just facilitating a conversation. And I use that strategy in how I communicate with diverse groups, that I'm not teaching anything. I'm here to listen as well and facilitate a conversation. There's all the training in the world that really won't prepare you for some of the conversations that the young people are going to bring into the room, right? It's a generational gap, right? And some of the things that they're dealing with, I never would have thought that we'd be dealing with that in 2020, right? And I think it's our job. I'm kind of an elder now, I guess. I don't know. I'm in a weird age bracket now, right? But I really think of myself as helping to listen, facilitate, and then lead into a direction. So are there other community groups? Are there mentors that I can help link the person with? Maybe if I can't facilitate that conversation, if they're super interested in renewable energy and all of that, I'm gonna send them over to Push, right? But I'm gonna let them know that I'm not just pushing you away, right? But that I've identified a better resource for you. And typically young people are very receptive to that because they don't want to waste their time either. So just really thinking about how you communicate and communicate with your ears before your mouth.
Thank you.
All right, any final questions? No pressure. All right, well, I just want to thank you, Franchelle, for coming out and definitely talking with us and sharing your story. It definitely takes a certain amount of vulnerability to come into a room with a bunch of strangers and actually talk about yourself and your work. And it definitely is a very eyes on you situation. So thank you for coming and talking with us today. For the rest of us, I think we're in time for a bit of a break. So I'm going to say 5-minute break, and then we come back, and then we're going to do our breakout sessions. So
One more question.
Oh, we got one more question?
In the chat.
All right, whose question?
Yeah, sorry, Kelly, I snuck that question in there.
Okay, Chris, do you want to ask your question real quick?
Oh, sure. Thank you so much, Franchelle, for sharing. And I said I really admire Open Buffalo's structure of the leadership and organizing training. Could you talk a little bit more about that model and like how other groups could help and contribute with Open Buffalo with that?
Yeah, we are always looking for mentors. We're looking for mentors for our Emerging Leaders Program and our youth student leadership councils as well. So that's an immediate need and great benefit to some of the work. But we really think, and again, I guess it kind of goes back to Emily's comment as well, that it's more about creating networks and opportunities for people than coming in and teaching something, right? So we definitely use that model in all of our leadership development programs, that we want to be the connector, we want to be the bridge. And then also, like, if you want to go to college and learn student organizing, that's cool, but here at Open Buffalo, like, you're gonna have to use those skills in real time. So in our Emerging Leaders Program, they democratically pick a issue campaign and work towards a goal throughout the entire program. So we're all collectively, and typically, like, we don't have the opportunity to pick a campaign. Most of the time campaigns fall upon us, right? Because of some political moment that we're in. But this gives us an opportunity to really think strategically on, like, what are the systemic issues that we want to collectively address. So that's our organizing model, and really using the power of our own stories as a quantifiable resource, and helping people understand the power that they have within to change systems. So that's just a little bit about our theory and our practice.
Okay, thank you for your questions, guys. Sorry, some of them sneak past me in the chat. It's hard to keep track of everybody. But yes, so thank you, Franchelle, for coming and talking with us. Everybody else, we're gonna be moving into a 5-minute break. So we're gonna come back at around 6:57. Some people might be a little bit late, so we're probably gonna realistically start around 7, but try to be here before then. All right, so go ahead, go get snacks, use the bathroom, tend to your responsibilities. We'll be back, and we're gonna do breakout groups.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.